What is up, guys? Standing in my backyard next to Project E46. If you look around, it's like a total nightmare of car parts everywhere. Currently trying to sort through everything. But while I was back here trying to organize stuff, it jogged my memory about an important part of this build. I bought the E46 with the intention of going to the track and going drifting. However, when it comes to drifting, you need a locking differential of some sort. So let me tell you what my solution for the Project E46 was in that regard. Option 1, I should say, is you can swap out the factory open differential, which basically gives you one tire fire, for a limited slip diff, either the E46 M3 OEM diff or an aftermarket LSD. That's a very viable option, but the E46 diff, you have to swap the whole rear end out to make that work. It's a lot of effort, a lot of money. So that's out. Aftermarket LSDs for late model BMWs, for some reason, are very expensive. So that's out. The cheapest one I found costs almost as much as this entire car, to put it in perspective. The next option, the most common one for drifting, is to take your existing differential and pop it open and weld the gears inside the differential together, aka welding your diff. Welding the diff ensures that the diff is 100% locked at all times, allowing for nice, repeatable, consistent slides when you're drifting at the track. So, welding the diff is the cheap, easy way out here, so that is the route I went. However, there's one more factor to consider when it comes to an E46, is that BMW, in their infinite wisdom, gave every single model of the E46 a different rear end gear ratio. So depending on if you have a 323, 325, 328, or 330, auto or manual, they all have different gear ratios. And that brings me to my point, is this is a manual transmission 328i. BMW gave the 328 the laziest gear ratio, which is a 293 rear end. That's great for freeway cruising because it keeps the RPM nice and low, but it's not so great for drifting because it makes the engine feel really lazy and lethargic. So I thought to myself, man, I should buy a different diff so I can get a better, more aggressive gear ratio. So I ended up going on Facebook and Craigslist and searching around and found out that the going price for a BMW differential, kind of regardless of gear ratio, is about $100, which is fair. So I ended up finding a 307 gear ratio, a 307. That's like 5% quicker. Should be all for a nice little bit of pickup. So I bought the 307 diff, brought it back, and I was getting ready to have my friend Tim weld the diff when I realized, wait, something's a little bit different here. So obviously you've seen in the previous episodes, I have the whole rear end of the car taken apart at this point, all the bushings out, differentials out, all of it's out. I lined up the old 293 diff with this next to this 307, and I realized, these are different. It turns out this 307 diff I picked up came off a late model 6-speed 330i. Now, the 6-speed late model 330i's and M3s actually use a completely different drive shaft with a different bolt pattern. So the input flange of the differential actually wouldn't even fit into my car. It wouldn't mate up with my drive shaft. That's a big problem. Fortunately, I ended up selling that differential for $150, making a little bit of money back, and that got rid of that, but I was stuck. I had the whole car taken apart, and I was on a time crunch. I wanted to get the car put back together ASAP. So what do? Well, for the time being, I ended up having my friend Tim come over and weld a 293 diff. It's the laziest gear ratio you can get for an E46, but it'll be a good baseline to see how the car performs with that gear ratio. If in the future I want to upgrade, we can obviously go try like a 307 or a 315 or a 346. Those are obviously much more aggressive and better for shorter gearing and more aggressive power output. So that's kind of where we're at. All the bushings in the car are being replaced. The diff has been welded, the 293 diff. I'll cut to a pretty picture. Actually, I also painted the diff cover Satin Lagoon, so it actually looks quite nice. And that brings us to where we're currently at. In the next episode, the welding continues. We will be covering the welding of the chassis for the subframe reinforcements. That's a big, heavy-duty job, so stay tuned for the next episode. Yeah, so that's where we're at. All the bushings are out, being replaced. I have a welded 293 diff waiting to go back in, and then we can hopefully get this thing ready in time for the track day I signed up for right after this, and go drifting. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned. Bye. What a diff is life. What a diff is love.